What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to today's edition of Free Tool Friday. My name is Tyler S. Clark, co-founder of Dream Firms, where we help you to create generational wealth and impact by systematically attracting and winning the business of your dream clients. And once you attract those dream clients to you, it becomes all about that consultative sales process. And to help you with being able to do that in an incredibly high quality way without using high pressure sales tactics, we're going to explore how you can use Zoom, the tool I'm using right now to conduct today's presentation, to be able to do just that. And to be clear, this is not a technical how-to video on how to use Zoom. There's plenty of content out there that can tell you how to get Zoom set up. So we're not going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about, once you are using the tool, how to use it the most effective way possible. So I'm going to give you our top 5 strategies and tactics to be able to do just that. So the very first one that we're going to be covering today is what is oftentimes an afterthought, but it should be one of your primary thoughts. And that, of course, is your background. It's your background. It's what is behind you that helps represent who you are. Now, I know we also, of course, want to come dressed nice and look good and do all of that, but don't neglect the importance of what your background can do for you to set the tone for your call. Because I know people don't want to feel like they get judged, but you are going to be judged very quickly. And first impressions matter a lot. And we talk a lot about value in the accounting community, rightfully so. But there's this old expression about perceived value. Perception is our reality. So we want to make sure we have control over our background. Now, for those of you who might be saying, but Tyler, I don't have a fancy plant wall. I don't have an expensive camera. That camera was like $200 8 years ago. Just so you know, it's really not even an expensive camera. It just looks good. But my point here is, if you're saying, I don't really have those things, I get it. This is why Zoom has something that's very useful, that's known as a virtual background. So in the bottom left of Zoom, there's a little stop video, but there's also a little up arrow. If you click on the up arrow and you click choose virtual background, you're going to be able to pick a background that is going to be very cool from 2 standpoints. Okay. So when you do that, let me just go ahead and make sure I grab the right one here. And okay. It's asking me to add an image again. I thought I just did this, but we're going to try it one more time. That's not the one I wanted. All right, one more time. Let's see if I can find the right one. I had just set this up right before we got started. And a little closer, not the one I wanted. Let's try one more. Let's see. I think it was this one. Okay, well, you guys get the point. So look, idea here is you come better prepared than I did. I tried my best, but Zoom kind of screwed me a little bit here. The idea is twofold, is that you can have a virtual background, but you notice how there's this kind of blurring effect if I move a little bit. I don't really like that a lot. If you have a green screen, it can help. Point is if you find yourself at the kitchen table, if you find yourself in an area that maybe not be super professional for your first impression on that sales call, think about how you could use this, but not only from the standpoint you could put your own logo back behind you in this fake space behind me, but you could also, and this is a super cool tip that I picked up from somebody, that Mark Halan, who I just love, excellent client of ours. He said, Tyler, I don't put my logo back there. I put the prospective client's logo behind me. And I was like, oh, wow. Wow. How smart is that? It's so powerful, because what do you do? What is the psychological imagery that's going to be associated with that? You're now on my team, right? So if someone was coming to me and presenting a service to me and they had the Dream Firms logo behind me, I'd be like, that's so cool. Like, wow, right. Like, a lot of people don't even think about it, don't know about it. It gives you that little wow factor super fast, and it will take you less than 60 seconds to get it set up. Literally download the image, upload it as the virtual image, and you're done. It's as simple as that. And it might not format perfectly, but again, sometimes it's the thought that ultimately matters. So I'm going to turn my virtual background off now. And of course, now it gives me none of the ones that I want again. And now I don't even have the none option. There it is, finally. Okay. Zoom sometimes is a little bit frustrating, but it can be fantastic at the same time as well. So again, just to be clear, first tip, consider your background. You can have a digital background, you have a physical background, but make sure it pops. And if you use a digital background, consider using it from the client perspective, using their logo to, again, give that idea that I'm already on your team and I'm going above and beyond and increasing my perceived value. Second item is actually two psychological little tricks that I would like to, I don't like to think of them as tricks. They're two tactics that I think are very important when it comes to using Zoom. So I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Is that okay? You guys, that's the first psychological little tactic right there. You could do that in an in-person setting and you would immediately lean in. You mind if I tell you something? Right? It's simple. All I do, look around and kind of, hey, you mind if I tell you something real quick? You're listening, right? It's a good pattern interrupt. It's a good way to highlight a certain part of your presentation, a certain tax saving strategy that you might want to share to build a bit of reciprocity, not giving away the farm. But I love that. I think it's such a cool tactic. I learned that from Bob Schaefer years ago when I was running my accounting firm. And man, when I tell you, as soon as you do that and you're getting ready to talk about taxes in the government, people start paying attention real quick when they might have originally just been having their eyes glazed over, like, oh, what's this secret thing that's about to get shared? And it's literally just a little piece of psychology, looking over your shoulder, dropping your voice, leaning in. Now you got their attention. Second item that I like from a psychological perspective is you might have noticed that my energy changed once I switched over to this topic. And I want you to notice how my energy is about to change again. My tone of voice stayed exactly the same. My tempo has not changed. I'm not talking necessarily about physiological changes in my voice. I'm talking about where my eyes are directed. I'm looking directly into the camera now as opposed to looking at myself. And you can notice immediately how the intensity changes when I do that. Now, that is a selective thing that you should choose to use, but you have to be careful about it, because if you start the conversation with looking into the camera, it's going to be hard to pick up on the cues of the prospective buyer because you're too busy looking into the camera as opposed to looking at their facial expressions, what's going on with their body language. I would much rather pay attention to the prospective client, but if I'm going to use that, I'm going to use it when? I'm going to use it during the price. That's when I'm going to bring the intensity up just a little bit when I get ready to announce my price. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about that towards the end of today as well. And we're going to have a specific Free Tool Friday on when to announce your price later on in the month. So be sure to mark your calendar for that. Okay, so just a quick recap. Again, the psychological tricks are, if I kind of do a little whoop, bring you in, and then from here to here, you can tell immediately that there's a difference between looking at the screen and looking at the camera, okay? And be selective in that. Number 3, now I'm gonna try and be brave here. I'm gonna ask my people hanging out with me on Zoom here if they notice a difference right now. So right now, what I'm doing is I am communicating with you with a dedicated microphone that's known as a Yeti. It's about maybe $70, I believe, but it makes a tremendous difference on how you are perceived on Zoom, okay? So right now, this is me using a Yeti mic. I'm going to switch over to the microphone that's on my laptop, and I wanna just, if you guys could just tell me if you hear a difference, I'd appreciate it. So let's see if this works. I just switched over. Does the audio sound any different? It's bad, right? And again, this is something that a lot of people don't realize. We don't realize how we sound. And when you have that, again, now I'm going to switch back just so you can hear the difference again. And this is how I sound when I switch over to Yeti. And does that sound better? I mean, like it's a clear difference. So for an investment of $70, and you can even get ones cheaper than that, you can get really crystal clear audio, and it makes a huge difference. And I hope that sort of example really illustrates the profound difference that audio can have when you're trying to keep people's attention, right? We want to make sure that we sound crisp and clear when we're delivering our message and expressing our value. Okay. Number four is I want to make sure that when you have an opportunity that you are prepared. They say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Well, clearly, if you're on Zoom right now, you have an opportunity. So when you're getting ready to present and be able to show them why you're the best accountant for their needs, we have to make sure that we can do that we can have those conversations. And similar to how I just expressed that if you can't hear yourself when you're just considering your audio, when you can't look at how your background looks, you have to record yourself. You have to be willing to practice your sales presentations. You have to be willing to listen to your own sales, because if you don't, why would a prospect listen to them? You have to be dynamic. You have to come prepared. You have to understand what is the flow of my presentation, and am I going to use a slide deck to help? Am I going to simply have more of that consultative conversational approach? What am I going to do? And this shouldn't just be like, I'm going to just throw a Hail Mary. I mean, this is an opportunity. I want you to really think about this. If you have a legitimate prospect, you can give yourself a raise. Think about that. Like, don't say, oh, I got to make a sale. I'm going to get the client. You can give yourself a raise. That's how I want you to think about it. And when you think about it like that, it's like if your boss was like, you got to come prepared, I'm going to give you a raise. You're going to be like, I'm going to work like crazy to be prepared to give myself a raise. But you're your own boss. And this is you coming prepared to be able to do just that. And so to help you with that, we have this wonderful C4 sales script. This is literally walks you step by step how to be prepared. If you're like, I don't know what the process is, you can sign up for Igniter. It's a sick deal. There's a 7-day money back guarantee. You get this and a whole bunch of other things. I'm not here to promote it, but if you're like, I don't know how to be prepared for a sales opportunity, well, don't let $67 prevent you from maximizing your opportunities, okay? So again, that can just be summarized as practice, 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 and make sure that ultimately that you know what your process is when you get ready to have an opportunity, because that opportunity is not going to wait for you unless you are fully prepared, or they're not going to do anything, okay? And the fifth and final option or final tip here to maximize your experience with Zoom to absolutely crush sales is you could do everything that I just said. Absolutely fantastic. And then we get to a part in the conversation where people freeze, where we kick things to email, where we don't want to discuss our price. And I know talking about money can be uncomfortable. I know feeling like you're going to give a quote when maybe you don't have all the information can feel intimidating. You might have been like, I got burned before on a quote I gave, and then it turned out to be this massive project. I know that happens. I consult with accountants all day long, but we can't let that negative experience prevent us from being able to understand if it's even worth following up with. Because if your quote is in a completely different ballpark than what this person was looking for, why are you then going to spend all that time looking through their QuickBooks file, firming up the quote? So when you're on Zoom and that prospect is in front of you, make sure that you give them a quote. You're not married to it. It's a quote. It can change. It can evolve, but it at least gives you an understanding of if it's worth your most precious resource, your time, to follow back up with that person, schedule a follow-up call, firm up the quote, create the engagement letter. I mean, think about all the time that is for someone who might even just go, what? You said how much? Ever been ghosted by email because we waited to talk about our price? This is why Zoom's so powerful, right? So I just went from looking at here, the camera, to looking at body language, because when you get ready to do the price, you can announce it, but then you have to be able to read their body language to understand what's the reaction to it? Is it like, oh, right? That's not so bad. That's a great way to know if maybe you underquoted. If someone was just like, no, that sounds pretty good, right? Or someone's like, like they catch their breath, like they get real nervous, start shifting around. This is what Zoom is meant to help you with. And I think it's strange how few accounting professionals are using video in their sales opportunities. It builds a meaningful connection much faster. And also when the price comes out, it lets you understand whether or not it's ultimately worth your time to follow up with in the first place. So that is the 5 tips. I'm going to do a quick high-level summary. Number 1, background, digital or physical, make sure it's dialed in. Just please understand that part of your value is perception, and you want to make sure you're perceived looking really sharp. Number 2, there are some psychological tactics. I shared 2 of them on today that you can use during your presentation. Looking around, kind of create that drop your voice, and also being able to look directly into the camera. Number 3, your audio, as illustrated earlier in today, is that if you're using a built-in mic into your laptop as opposed to a dedicated mic, there will be a significant drop in audio quality that you may not even be aware of. And to help you to be more aware of it, record yourself and listen to yourself. Number 4, come prepared. You got an opportunity, and if for any reason you're unprepared, we have the C4 sales script as part of your investment in Igniter. So understand, again, you get this, and it will help you to be more prepared. And number 5 is, please understand that if you're going to take the time to do all of these things, don't waste your time with someone who's not realistically going to consider a quote that represents your value the right way by failing to announce it on the call. Again, you're not married to it, but it gives you an understanding if it's worth following up, if you need to maybe have some sort of understanding of what's included, what's going on with it. We'll talk more about presentation and how to structure things and maybe slide decks on a different Free Tool Friday. But again, at the end of it, if you can't give them the price, you can't gauge their reaction. If you can't gauge their reaction, you don't know if it's worth your time to follow up. And I mentioned a secret tip earlier today, and I want to share that tip about Zoom as well. So one of the cool things that a lot of people don't know about Zoom is, of course, that when you are creating content like we are right now, you can record your content and you can record your sales presentations. Now, when you record your sales presentations, of course, you're going to review them. I believe that's the fastest way to improve your sales skills, bar none. However, when you're getting ready to get into content production mode, not only can you record your presentations, your lives, you can go live on Facebook through Zoom, you can then take the recording and you can upload it to YouTube. And now you've successfully syndicated your content on another platform. And as a gentle reminder, if you're not already subscribed to YouTube, hope you would do that for us. We put out a ton of content on there, and hope you've enjoyed today's Free Tool Friday. Please feel free to comment, hashtag Let's Go down below. And remember that only you can make your dream firm a reality, but we help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone, and I will see you on next week's Free Tool Friday.